Yo, yo, yo. I just had to edit some things real quick, remove that whole chat summary stuff. Yo, let me say primarily, screw you, you know, everything that's associated with you. If you're a part of this organized harassment apparatus, you're cowards, you're bitches, and you're pussies. That's number one, right? Number two, yo, it's all about working on trying to become better from a personal standpoint and also as it relates to how you interact with other people. Here's the mirror. Here's the mirror, you fucking assholes. Here's the mirror. Pointed right back at y'all bitch asses. I know for a fact that however it is y'all spying and looking down at my family's household, you know that historically I've had arguments with my father when I'm helping him work on things. So what do? That's when you elevate the ambient surveillance mechanisms via the community harassment components to agitate folks because you know what pushes our buttons. And in fact, since you're man in the middling all of my internet activity, you can find out what specific things bother me and use that as your opportunity to gather intel to fuck with me and my family. Okay? Beautiful. Uh Again, we overcome that by just simply trying to evolve and better ourselves to not, be bothered by those things, you know? And so I know for me, I take the onus as a man to be like, you know what? I'm appreciative to have my dad in my life and I'm here to help him out. So let me help him and not get frustrated. We have very, uh, explosive personalities, if you will. But yeah, it exemplified itself today with that taking place. And again, at this point is just however it is when I wake up, I turn on the lights. That is usually the mechanism to uh, sort of announce that I'm awake. And then what takes place after that is the chick, the rooster that starts to uh, you know make its noises. And I suspect it's set up through some other home near the community that has a mechanism that can gauge when my lights are turned on. I already caught the DOT driver that was backing up his vehicle near the expressway just to make the vehicle backing up sound. So I know that DOT could potentially be involved or individuals that work for the DOT. That's the Florida Department of Transportation. Then you also have the FPL. This is what they do. These cowards that are with these groups, they covertly work within different companies and use the mechanisms within these companies to fuck with people. Um, but yeah, so and again, I uncover things just on a regular, man, because at this point, it's just holding up the mirror. As it happens, I just capture it, and every once in a while, I come up on here and I share it, uh, for the record, if you will, because this is the only record at this point. Again, at this point, they're even using like AI. That was a very helpful mechanism to gaslight too, and I'll tell you how in a second. But I wake up, the lights turn on, and then of course that's the rooster sound. And now here's the thing: they weaponize your ability to make those connections too. So I gotta admit, at some points it's not connected. Like there's the roosters just start making noises just because that's what roosters do. But they're on time. They're usually timed, right? A rooster shouldn't be making noises at 12 midnight. Uh, or what else? You know, fucking 5 p.m. or some shit like that, right? And I'm using profanity on this one, so it is what it is. But nah, they don't start making noises just randomly. But somehow, in my scenario, that's what's taking place. So they playing those games. And you got the other pussies that got the cars that have the loud exhaust. They're driving around, making noises, trying to, use that as the ambient force multiplier, if you will, to create this sense of anxiety. Okay. And again, it's likely under the interrogation framework that can be levied out upon a society and a community, uh, as these individuals would like, as they decide. But okay, so that happens, and then the few folks that I suspect again are positioned in these homes, whether to set off the rooster noises, the cars, they create this. And I know that the CIA has done this historically in different areas, but I would hate to think that our country's a preeminent organization that's responsible for like baddest, toughest motherfuckers will be involved in some pussy shit like this, yo. But nah, these bitches, they sitting back wherever they at, fucking, and they start making noise and shit. And that makes the ignorant folks, like in this case, is a lot of Haitians. We got Haitians in this community. So they don't know what's up, man. Haitians and little kids and whatnot, they start to make the connections with the noises that makes them feel that, oh shit, this is about to happen. Oh my God, like there's, something taking place. And historically, because I've been the at the center of that, this is again something that's being weaponized, man. Uh by making it, again, because the only way that this thing can become truly delusional for a person is when you really think it's the world centered around you. So you don't want to think that. But unfortunately, they play with that notion too by using the folks around you to emphasize that, hey, maybe it is you, right? So let's say you just sort of exist, you transcend that and you operate beyond that, right? You can't help it, but to feel that, oh shit, like maybe there is something that's sort of observing me. And I already know that satellite footage, drone footage, they're live events. These things are used now. It's all coming out now. But that's precisely why I created Drone Watch TV. But however it is they're observing from up top, they then start to again make the noises not transpire, sort of correspond. That is, I apologize. I'm waking up a little bit earlier today than usual, but it starts to correspond with your movements. And so again, I'm in a prime position, being that I'm right by the expressway. I got these Haitian folks that are in these homes that, whether directly participating or not, I'm not sure. But again, some of them are pseudo operators, I suspect. Uh, Weirdo fucks that's trying to play the man game. They got the power game over another person for one reason or another. Like the bitch I caught on the expressway with the DOT vehicle that was just because again, when you hear the vehicle backing up, and let me make the sound real quick, yo. Let me see if I could do this. Uh, let's see. It's just certain sounds that are associated with creating anxiety, and they're playing with this shit, man. But let me see. Vehicle backing up sound. Truck backing beep. Let's see if this is it. So that's one of the noises right there. Let me back it up again. So what they've done in this scenario, and again for years now, is essentially place either directly, like I'm talking about, they tell these folks to go in these places, or they sort of just position them around certain areas. And this is at the city planning level, I suspect. But again, they set up these things in a manner where they can, wash their hands with culpability and rely on plausible deniability. But that noise in particular is something that has been used for the past couple of years to create this anxiety filled uh, situation, surroundings around a community. And a couple nights ago, I caught someone. This person was just, and again, when I caught him, it was like he reacted just like someone that was caught. Like, yo, oh shit, and he didn't know how to act. He had this thing where he was trying to cover up his license plate, and it was a Florida. It was one of the yellow Florida license plates, by the way. But this asshole, he's positioned. As soon as I'm driving back home, I was riding my bike, coming from taking some pictures. I'm riding my bike. I make it back home, and somehow he positioned himself right off the exit where my neighborhood is located. And what does he do? As soon as I'm about to make it into the crib, that's when he starts doing that backing up sound. But I suspect because maybe he didn't expect that I'd sort of go and try to investigate what was happening, I went towards the expressway and I caught him red-handed. You know what I'm saying? And he tried to play it off, and then he finally left. But that points to, again, usually when I make it home, that's the sound that starts to happen. That dun 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 dun. Let me back it up. What's that noise? So you can understand where I'm coming from. So but that's the noise, right? And again, what they say is these people are either they're trying to prove that they're the alphas. I don't know what drives some of these folks, but they won't deal with someone directly, but they'll participate in creating a dynamic that will potentially harm the community. And what do they care, right? But again, we can remove the individuals and just look at the systems that are taking place. And that's all we're doing for now. And yo, give me my props, man, because I haven't clapped anybody yet. And as Jadakiss says, if you can go without killing a nigga, you're successful. Every day you can go without killing a nigga, you're successful. And by nigga, I mean anybody. Any day you can go without killing a person, you're successful, especially under the circumstances of organized harassment. And I'm gonna get to that in a second. Why that particular statement matters, yo? Because you see the thumbnail, but that dude there, somebody needs to look into his case. I suspect Buddy got put into that organized harassment mixer and got thrown all over the place, and then he spazzed out. We got mad examples, Myron May, Aaron Alexis. I talk about these people all the time, but this one hits a little bit closer to home because it was just a few blocks away. And again, the ambient surveillance is based upon what happens on I-95, southbound, northbound. You got 95th Street and 103rd Street. That's the sort of window that this apparatus likes to participate and operate in. But the chickens start going off. You're walking around. The exhaust noises are timed with your sort of movements and steps. And if you're not careful, you can be like, "Oh shit, let me, let me go." I'm frantic now. Let me go hide. Like I'm gonna hide from the noises. But that'll be ridiculous. You'd be crazy if you approach it that way, right? But I suspect some people do approach it that way because they don't know what to do. So let's say you try to exist at a different plane above it. You're like, man, fuck that shit. I ain't focused on that. They got the motherfuckers in the community that want to play games and make announcements or little cues by slamming doors. It becomes this conditioning process that is levied upon a community that starts to teach them how to deal with a person. Now, again, I've called this how to weaponize a community against an individual. And I want to say, fuck Manny Morales, you fat pig, literally, hoe ass cracker. Uh, he went on a press conference, and this dude was like, "Yo, it's gonna be the community that determines what happens to some of these people." And I can't believe encoded language. You got to be ballsy to do that shit. This nigga went and said that shit, knowing good and well they got mechanisms in place to really make a community hate a motherfucker, and the whole existence of the community has to deal with destroying that person. Because for them, again, if they can get you out of the community, that's even better. In my case, for many different reasons, they want me out of here, but I ain't going nowhere because it's my shit. You feel me? Especially at this point, I've already uncovered these pussies, man. I've already, had them. They at a point right now where they showing they fucking, they lifting they skirt up, man. I mean, So whatever it is they trying to orchestrate behind the scenes in terms of making me out to be a certain way, that's their problem. You feel me? We know what we know. I know what I know. I've captured what I've captured, and I've gone through what I've gone through, and I'm still here. You feel me? But nah, yo, they got this fucking high level conspiracy operating that is the most vile thing I've ever seen. Because, like I said, from a real nigga standpoint, you know there's bad guys in this world, and you can handle that. But I just never thought there was good people that like represent goodness, but they eat more evil than the bad people. If you think about it, because most of the time the bad people are motivated by money and money and power to a certain extent, but really money. But these good people, they usually getting paid good money. They usually got things that they want because they're of the normal society. They're of the status quo. But then to extend it to another level where they go and target people and participate in destroying people, again, cowardly, weak, fucking disgusting. But again, whoever wants to align with them, that's on them. All we can do in the meantime is continue to document this shit. So, as with my father, and I'm finished up about that part of the story, but we did the job and it wasn't too crazy. And he kind of was getting frustrated a little bit, and I calmed things down by just laughing. But I know historically we've had incidents where that has happened, and I didn't know back then. I know now the community was sort of observing how I interacted or how we interacted with one another. And then because we had bad incidents where we blew up on each other, that again is something that they are trying to use to continue to weaponize. They have this sort of how can we call it a it's like files. They have a collection of data, if you will, on how I operate, on how my family operates, on how I operate as a black male, on how I operate as a black male that is still living with his parents. Like all these things can be sort of compressed and put together in a file, right? And they're weaponizing it. I suspect that their AI might tell them that I'm a highly, I I can go from 0 to 100, and that truly is the case. But you're not supposed to be like that with your family, right? Especially if you truly appreciate them. So, as you learn, you evolve and you try to be the best that you could be and push the negative things away. And that's what I've been on. But their AI hasn't recognized that. And I'm just saying AI, but whatever it is that allows them to compile their data, they're still looking at me through the lens of someone that they can manipulate by getting angry, by using sounds, by using the ambient surveillance mechanisms and weaponize them against me to frustrate me to do something wild, right? And that also happens when I step outside. They use lights. And again, the light shit is something that can really make someone catch seizures, and it's been happening to me for the past couple of years. I contacted the DOJ about this, and of course, to no avail. But the lights is something that they've been using over the years to weaponize and to create, this again, this feeling of man, I need to be frantic and move around in a way that is going to be problematic, so on and so forth. But when you slow down a little bit, you start to recognize it and you move differently. So that's what I've been doing. Um, but I think again, because their system was set up in a way where it's supposed to make me continue to be like that, because that's the only way they get closer to uh, creating some action that justifies all of this. And maybe historically, that's just how they've operated with different individuals. But because I have decided to evolve, change up, and try to be the best me, now it's becoming a problem for them because at certain points it's just a matter of, hey, you're just doing this, and it's being sort of shown to be what this individual has called it out to be by just him existing. So by simply going outside and then using my flashlight towards the people that are using the lights and sort of how the street, the drivers are set up. They got different teams. This thing is very intricate, but quite petty and really elementary if you think about it. But it's this roving, sort of mobile apparatus that has to do with vehicles that drive on and off the expressway. And then it creates a OODA loop sort of dynamic in which they're driving off the expressway, coming back on, the exhaust noises, the lights, all of it collectively is supposed to create a hyper, uh, vigilant, maybe sort of reality that can get someone to act out of pocket, to act maybe a little bit different. I suspect that if you don't do that shit, and if that wasn't taking place, most people would just be chilling. But if most people would be chilling, yo, they wouldn't have jobs. You feel me? So again, I know it has to be these crackers, man. It has to be these pigs that somehow along the way they got very slick and they thought this was the shit that they should do. They done had a lot of people caught up in this shit. Some motherfuckers didn't know they spazzed out, pulled out their pistols, killed people, did all kinds of shit. You feel me? And unbeknownst to them, it was motherfuckers that set that shit up, yo. It's the environment, fam. Real talk. This is a part of my thesis. Again, case number 423 CV01013, USDC Southern District of Texas, Houston Division. Pardon me, something came to mind here. It is my thesis, but sometimes I forget it. Let me see. Houston Division. Hang on. The neuropolitics of control, how sound surveillance and herd behavior form modern mechanisms of social engineering. Okay, so that's what my overarching idea is. I want to develop it into a thesis, potentially a PhD. And once I do that, it'll open up the floodgates to be able to file class action and other forms of civil lawsuit filings. But yeah, yo, so it's the vibe. That's what creates the vibes. That's what creates the frequencies. That's what makes the environment the way that it is. So these crackers are hell bent on trying to make this shit stressful for motherfuckers. And again, the slickest and weakest way, that the most recent attempt now, is to use the community to play along as if they're in on some game that we aren't, or I'm not aware of, right? And I know why they're doing that, because that's what I did to them. I'm in on some game that they weren't aware of. But again, I was just simply living my life, and anybody has the right to do so, But when you weaponize systems and official processes and you try to do the same, by virtue of your pettiness, you make the systems look weak, stupid motherfuckers. But yeah, man. So, we overcome that. I helped out pops. That felt good. And again, that internal compass has to be there, yo. Because ain't nobody telling you any of this. You feel me? And it's so easy to react off of the visceral, like, feeling. You're stressed. You don't want to do this. So you get mad. You feel me? And maybe that's how I used to be historically. But I'm not like that anymore. So here I am, confronting this thing head on. And I only thought it'd be right that, yo, I cover this because I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know if they're at this point, like, it's a fucking crisis management PR kind of shit. I don't know which friends are out of prison, which ones aren't, which ones are still alive, which ones aren't. They've stopped my connections and communications with females. They've literally created uh, an environment where, again, under the interrogation framework, I suspect, because they want me to sort of hastily do something that makes their existence necessary, but they've isolated me to this point. Uh, so it's okay. All right, I'm here and I got to deal with it. But along the way, let's be clear: we can't forget about those that end up failing to their games, yo, because it's not easy. But one example, yo, this is a case study connected to Pre-Crime Institute and the professional tester as well as hip hop legal and hip hop lawyers. This is a case study, 2015 Northwest 103rd Street, 7-Eleven managers and former lovers, Rudolph Gonzalez and Elisabethe. That's Elisabethe Silva, Silva. And this was an unfortunate shooting incident, okay? Now, this is copywritten, but I want to cover it here, and I'm going to also put it and save it in a couple different places. And just to be clear, I'm going to contact Rudolph Gonzalez, who's currently serving. Uh, I thought he was going to get life, but he got I think a few decades or something like that. So he does have a date to come home, but he he doesn't have access to visitation. But I'm gonna try to write him a letter, and hopefully it lands. But again, in the same way that I've written letters to Esteban Santiago Ruiz, to Oni and a Hellcat, to various different individuals, telling them about this case, this organized harassment case framework out of the Southern District of Houston, Houston, Texas. I want these folks to know that, hey, if there's some legal recourse that exists out there, pursue it. Have your attorneys look into it and see. But again, the system itself is attempting to deflect. Even AI, this is what I was going to say earlier about AI. I use AI to try to, sort of make sense of all of this. And I've noticed that every time I mention the case, it has this tendency to not repeat the full case details to me. And I suspect that's in a manner that over time they'll be able to obfuscate and say that it wasn't a filing. Because the thing is, though, they're just allegations. This stuff is plain and clear. I can't understand how and why they would allow this to continue to go on, man. It just makes them lose credibility even further. But anyway, so that case in particular is being shared with brothers brothers and sisters that's locked up behind the walls, so that they can argue potentially that, hey, this is something that was done and this dynamic was created. So while these fucks try to screw with me head on, behind the back, coming up behind the rear, because they're doing this thing too with their surveillance approach. It's this creep up and watch sort of dynamic, right? But that's okay. What I've been doing is the same thing, but not with individuals to creep up and watch the system, if you will. Individuals that have been wronged and harmed by the system, to file legal filings. That way, it's done in the most official manner possible. And then what they're doing, eventually the system creeps up on them, if that makes any sense. You feel me? It's just like, yo, they want to be petty, but I'm dead ass serious. They want to play games, but I'm dead ass serious. All right. So check it out. This is exactly what I wrote in my copywritten summation here, if you will. Attempting to put this together, considering what I know now as it relates to organized harassment apparatus in South Florida and its usage of noise harassment as a mechanism to induce frantic actions. I suspect it's used as a dragnet of sorts. It's applied and subsequently has unintended and intended consequences. To the untrained eye or ear, one might simply attribute the heat, quote unquote, if you will, quote unquote, if you will, to the collective movements of individuals in a particular area. I've come to learn that this is not the case, or rather, can be, is something that is manufactured. Let me read that sentence again. I've come to learn that this is not the case, or rather, can be, slash, is something that is manufactured. I won't get into the specifics here,
but just look into the various other case studies and documentation in the safe as in how organized harassment is used. You'll be surprised what the illusion of bad luck, quote unquote, sirens. Oh, I forgot to mention the sirens, as with car alarms. That's a method. They have it set up so that now car alarms sort of sound off based off of your movements. Okay? But car exhaust, impatient people, and the actions of a few devious individuals slash cowards acting as the quote unquote invisible hand can do in terms of just making someone feel weird. That weirdness, if you will, can and has made folks act out in many different ways. This day in particular stands out to me because it was May 15th, 2015. And there are some details surrounding that day that I won't get into. But it was a time in which I saw that the local 7-Eleven convenience store that was located at 533 Northwest 103rd Street, just east of I 95, was blocked off with police tape. I pulled over and saw a middle aged white male handcuffed to a stretcher. He was moving around on the stretcher as he was wheeled into the ambulance. Focusing in on his face, I realized that it was the nicest 7-Eleven manager that I'd ever met. This was the assessment that I made the night before when I interacted with the guy as I bought some snacks for the spot that I'd been going to from the spot that I've been going to most of my life. Hang on, let me fix this. From the spot that I've been going to most of my life. That was the 7-Eleven, by the way. The manager was so nice that I remember thinking to myself, that this approach to life is how one should navigate through this world. Give your best attitude and professionalism despite your circumstances. I thought to myself, even though I'm going uh, through a circumstance right now, but that circumstance should not change my infectious slash encouraging spirit. So you could imagine how shocked I was to see bruh on the stretcher and the driver's side door to a parked car in front of the 7-Eleven, covered with the sheet that first responders use on dead bodies. Excuse me. On dead bodies at a shooting incident. Okay, looking back, the scene was very dramatic. Again, I literally had to turn away, not knowing whether this was some kind of weird entrapment thing in which the crackers would try to wrap me up in this situation. I inched forward cautiously. I asked the gentleman standing around what happened, and he stated that the guy on the stretcher killed the lady in the car. Now, I never got clarity as to why this situation took place. I'll do a case lookup and pull some filings to get a better understanding, time permitting. But it would appear that the two individuals involved were in a relationship while managing the 7-Eleven, and things went awry after Elisabethe Silva broke up with Rudolph Gonzalez, or vice versa. Yet another reason to try to be even keeled and stoic through this journey. Various forces will try to knock you off your square. Okay? Now, that was just my little quick one, two, three. But here are some screenshots as it relates to NBC6 and their coverage of this story. I also have some the actual property assessment based off of the miamidade.gov property appraisal website. So I got the layout of this location that used to be a 7-Eleven. Now it's actually, I think, set to be a funeral home. At least that's what I thought it was going to be at some point. But anyway, 7-Eleven is listed here. Okay, so here's the story based, and again, this was at 533 Northwest 1 Street. Now here's the story according to NBC6. Fair use. Shout out to NBC6. But when police arrived, he complained of chest pains and was, let me see. I got it last before first. So I gotta scroll here to get it back. Let's see. So first thing, they have a man is behind bars after he shot and killed his girlfriend in front of the 7-Eleven store she owned. Oh, NBC6 Bobby Brooks reports. I thought it was co-ownership. I don't know. But a man is behind bars after he shot and killed his girlfriend in front of the 7-Eleven store she owned Friday morning. The shooting reportedly happened just before 11:30 a.m. at a 7-Eleven at 533 Northwest 103rd Street, just east of I-95. According to Miami-Dade police, the couple was involved in a verbal dispute which escalated. The suspect, identified as 51-year-old Rudolph Gonzalez, pulled out a gun and shot 52-year-old Elisabethe Silva inside a four-door sedan parked outside the store, police said. Miami-Dade Police Detective Daniel Farron, and make note of that name too, folks, by the way, but Miami-Dade Police Detective Daniel Farron, okay? He's someone that at some point maybe we can investigate or at least interview, right? But so we see if we can get some answers for the sake of Pre-Crime Institute, in this case, Post-Crime Institute. But investigators confirmed Silva owned the store while Gonzalez worked as the store manager. Now, let me say this about real quick. I'm going to interject this part. This organized harassment thing is funny sometimes because it almost plays upon like, I don't know if they got some kind of ways. Like sometimes I think to myself, yo, do they have various methods to control like women and whether they're angry or happy? Like I feel that there's some sort of a study that maybe most folks aren't read in on, but these folks might have the ability to determine whether people are happy or angry. I know for a fact they can fuck with pets. You know, I got my cat, and that's been a case study within itself. You know, depending on the frequency and what sort of direct energy weapons, however it's happening, that culmination of methods used in this ambient surveillance approach to behavior modification, it can impact pets. That I know for a fact based off of my direct experience, okay? And a lot of this stuff, you can look it up on targetedjustice.com to get some more information. But let's carry on with the story. Like I said, in this case, it would appear that the dude Silva, the dude Gonzalez, the chick he was with, it went left, and they pointed out directly that she owned the store, and he was just a store manager. But like I said, the night before I met Buddy, and this was the nicest dude. I'm talking about, yo, like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, damn, what the fuck? They push Buddy buttons. But that day in particular, it was hot, man. It was like the heat, whatever they want to call it. That method that I understand now to be organized harassment, it was definitely humming in the background. You feel me? But check it out. So a witness described this disturbing scene. Quote, and I see the guy standing outside of the car shooting at his wife. I run close to the car and he's going around the other side. I guess he's smashing the window to throw the gun or something. And this was said by John Breon. That was his quote there. Now, it says Gonzalez waited at the scene and was taken into custody without incident. He surrendered his handgun to officers. The guy did call the cop. Quote, excuse me, let me get this right. Quote, the guy did call the cops himself, so they got here pretty quick. As soon as he got here, he threw himself on the floor and surrendered. I don't know what I've stumbled upon, but what if like the cops have been, they do this every once in a while, yo, on some fucking like blood sacrifice type shit. Hang on. All right. So it says police are trying to determine what led to the shooting. They just had a fiery argument. I understand because she came over and told me. This just escalated today. And this was a quote by a witness. Now it also says people on the scene told police after the shooting, Gonzalez told them he just killed his girlfriend and was ready to hurt himself. And again, when police arrived, he complained of chest pains and was taken to a nearby hospital where he was treated and then taken into custody for questioning. Gonzalez has been charged with second-degree murder. He is being held without bond. It is unclear whether Gonzalez has an attorney. All right? So that's the case of Gonzalez right here. Now let me give you his federal joint. So again, I suspect what I'm saying in a nutshell is that this incident, this dude that's locked up has to do with, it's a byproduct of noise-induced behavior modification. And this is an initiative that is being run near the expressways by way of the Florida Fusion Centers, by way of the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, or Miami-Dade Police Department. But again, at this point, it's just an idea, right? We're not 100% right because we don't think we know everything. So we got to investigate it. But check it out. And again, anyone that wants to contact Rudolph Gonzalez, take the lead. You know what I'm saying? And I think he'd be interested in some of this stuff. But Rudolph Gonzalez, his DC number is A as in Alpha 01415. And his name is RUDOLPH, initial A, last name Gonzalez, GONZALEZ. White male, date of birth, December 8th, 1963. Initial receipt date, that is February 11th, 2022. And he is currently located at South Bay CF. He's listed as in closed custody. And his release date will be, at least as of now, it'll be May 7th, 2045. Okay. So May 7th, 2045, violation status suspended, or excuse me, no, visitation status suspended. So he got his visitation suspended. And a nice guy like that, man, you got to go in there and be ruthless, yo, because that's just what you're dealing with. But now they hit him with the 30-year for the second-degree murder and shooting and throwing a missile in the building. It gave him a 15-year hit with that. And it looks like he has a detainer from the Broward County State Attorney, or SO. Let's see. And then a F15-10156 detainer from 12. That one is from December 7th, 2021. And this is the NTFY/PNP, whatever that means. And incarceration history, yeah, that was the first time dude got locked up. When I met him, I couldn't imagine this dude would ever have been. Talk about the most professional, respectful guy. I meet him and then just crazy, like, yo, the next day this dude kills his ex-chick or his chick because it went left. It seemed like From what I was told, they both owned the joint and that was their thing. But I don't know if again, maybe it went left because of that, you know. But he was there as a manager, holding it down, doing his thing, being extremely helpful, man. And I'm like, literally, I was like, yo, this dude should get an award, man. Like, but he just knew everything about the store. I'm like, this is the epitome of someone that should be successful. That's what I thought in my head the night before. And literally the next day, this dude was on a stretcher, handcuffed to a stretcher after killing his chick. And like I said, now I know the feeling of that day, but these motherfuckers have been playing this ambient surveillance shit even since then, yo. Because you can juxtapose the difference. There are other days where none of this shit is happening. It's so cool and relaxed. And I suppose for some folks it might be a bit more uncomfortable that way. But you'll be surprised when the community is at ease, like how laid back it is and how evolved we appear to be. But like I said, I've said this several times, they don't want that because they got to keep this shit hot so that they can keep their money rolling in many different ways. And one of the ways is to lock motherfuckers up. So yeah, they keep playing that shit with me, not knowing that I'm on top of this shit and I'm doing what I do here. And I'm going to keep doing it. You feel me? But now the next step is to contact Rudolph Gonzalez. And like I said, man, yo, I want to see these motherfuckers, man. I'm not going to spaz out to random people. That's not how it works, man. I'm going to see my fucking enemies and look them in the eye. I know I have, but they so cowardly, and this shit allows them to be cowardly, that even if they want to act like they tough, they know good and fucking well they can't. Because they already associated with something cowardly. So they gonna move with this cowardly shit, act like it's justified. It is what it is, man. In the meantime, I'm gonna vibe out. They weaponize pussy. I can't get no pussy. I can't get no hoes. So I gotta chill out and just do my thing, build and try to overcome this shit. You feel me? But they wanted to be on some, oh, it's the end of the world, and now I'm waiting until my back's against the wall type shit. Man, fuck y'all. Got me fucked up. Straight up. Anyway, this one is another one for the books, yo. Hey, consider this another good faith attempt for me to point out what has been taking place with organized harassment down here in South Florida. My name is H. Vanderbilt Alexander. I currently live at 524 Northwest 101 Street, Miami, Florida 33150. And yeah, if you want to come see me, all you got to do is come. There's a side gate. You'll walk to the side gate. That's going to be on the left side. If you're driving straight onto my street from Fifth Avenue, you're going to come to the left side gate, knock on it, and then, I'll answer you there. So that's what it comes down to. Why would someone ever be afraid if that's how they view the world, how they operate? I'm here. I'm an open book. So, you're not going to present a book to the world about me while I'm still here. You can try. But again, every time you just continue to look more ridiculous. So anyway, holla back. See ya.